All right, Kotaku, guys. Kotaku has died. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Let's see how it goes.
All right, so the title here seems kind of hyperbolic, I guess, but
Yep.
it's not even really clickbait, actually, because Kotaku kind of sort of just literally died. And maybe the website will continue to function on a basic level and be profitable, perhaps, but the way it is right now...
By the way, guys, before we continue the video, this video is made by Upper Echelon Gaming. They're fantastic. They do a lot of really like tips content where they like, you know, give guides for various parts of various games. They do this often, and it's really, really good content that they generally make. And very rarely do they cover gaming news, but I can very much tell you, I'm going to link their video in the chat. If you like kind of tips videos and stuff, they do really good information. They research it out. They give really good content and give it some love. So we always, any kind of creator that we really respect, I mean, regardless if I respect them or not, I'm going to link them in the video. But for ones that we do respect, I do like to give them a special shout out. This is a video that we're reacting to, so give them some serious love. Upper Echelon is a real one. Is a real one, guys.
That's over. And oddly enough,
Just
I
want to
actually
put that
have a
out
pretty
there.
unique individual perspective on why. Here's a basic rundown before I go in depth on what precisely this means for the website. March 20.
Oh man, I'm so happy. Kotaku. So I've ranted about games journalism several times before, but I will say that Kotaku might very well be one of the worst of the worst when it comes to games journalism. They're like, oh my god. They're the ones that are like, you know, berating, you know, people for not buying Forspoken and things like that. They're like, oh yeah, you didn't buy Forspoken because you were sexist. That was like a Kotaku thing, by the way, guys. That they do this on the regular.
First, which is yesterday as of me scripting this, Jen Glennon, editor-in-chief at Kotaku at the time, abruptly resigned. Jen Glennon has a lengthy history working in the world of media. I really don't know much about her, so good at her job, bad at her job, I honestly can't say.
I mean, we can just pause on our LinkedIn and find out.
Media, I really don't know much about her, so good at her job, bad at her job.
Okay, so she worked at Newsweek Media. Interesting.
I honestly can't.
Go Mobile and Inverse. Yeah, I actually don't know any of those sites.
But
I mean, I
this
need
abrupt
Newsweek.
and unexplained decision quickly received context. See, Kotaku writers began losing their collective minds. I'll take a minute right now to clarify. That's very understandable. Losing your job is not an easy thing.
I do not blame a lot of the writers that work at Kotaku. I blame the higher-ups at Kotaku for a lot of the dog shit that is written. Because those are the people, just like what happens with like a bad game, guys, you have to remember. It's always important to blame the right person. When a game like where we're just watching Suicide Squad is made, a lot of the devs at Rocksteady didn't want to make the Suicide Squad game. They wanted to make another Arkham game. They wanted to make a good game that they like to make, and they put a lot of detail in everything like that. But the higher-ups that own the company wanted them to do certain things, like make it a live service game and so on and so forth. So very similar thing happens in things like games media as well. And very much happened at Kotaku. So this is a major thing. I don't want to see... I hate seeing like people giving hate to like, you know, a lot of like the individual writers, unless they deserve it. Some writers are just bad. There's definitely several of them that are just like complete and utter dicks, and all they do is just write like racist, sexist shit. And if you like don't like a certain game, then you're, you know, misogynistic and stuff. That is some things that certain writers write a lot of, and those people are just absolute assholes, and they deserve all the ire they get. However, the vast majority of the writers, they have nothing to do with this.
Especially when you've sunk months or years into building your position at a certain company, we should all be able to sympathize and have some
and
here.
You know, a lot of
That's
people
not
losing their
something to
jobs is
celebrate
never a
at
good
all.
thing.
And while those writers have not actually lost their job currently, they're probably going to. I'll explain that in a minute here. So Jen Glennon resigns abruptly, and then...
However, guys, having said what I said, please do remember that Kotaku has a lot of the bad writers. They have a lot of the absolute useless pieces of crap that write the worst versions of clickbait, rage bait, rage articles that do nothing but like berate normal people for being normal, which is really annoying. So again, guys, when I say that, you know, I don't wish for a lot of people's downfall, but when it comes to Kotaku, fuck them. Hot take, fuck them.
Current and former staff at Kotaku start spilling the beans that GNO Media has redefined the entire website content direction to focus now almost exclusively on gaming guides, not activism-based
Gaming guides?
pieces
Okay.
or politically laced op-eds. And they also implemented a quota of 50 guides per week, allegedly.
Wait, 50 guides per week? That's actually insane. Okay. Yeah. Huh. So, here's a little trick in the acquisition business, guys. I don't know if you know this, but I work in business. So I can give you some input here. Knowing what I know, when a bad company, a bad larger company buys a smaller company and they want to get rid of a lot of the people working at the company, and they don't want to pay severance, one thing that these really terrible acquisition companies do is they basically set forth impossible goals that make people quit. Because if someone quits as opposed to getting fired or, you know, laid off, they are not owed severance, or the severance package is much less and, you know, much less detailed, much less powerful, much less costly for the company. And this is a very common trick here. This is an incredibly common trick, and it's really bad. I prefer malicious compliance over quitting. Yeah, exactly, Mike. But yeah, this is a big thing. So this is like really shitty of how this is going. This is really bad.
That news is getting very mixed reception right now. I've seen everything from good, that's a better direction, GNO Media is a genius for doing this, all the way.
I will say that guides content is not a bad idea. However, this is done maliciously. Like, there's no doubt. 50 articles a week for anything is insane, including guides. Like, that means they're gonna have to like steal guides from other people, and you know, just rewrite it so it's not completely plagiaristic. They're going to have to do AI. This is a push to do all of these things, by the way, guys. I can read the writing on the wall. I've seen this in many other fields of business. This is exactly what is going on here. I'm telling you this. This is actually extremely scummy from the higher-ups that are pushing this. By the way, this is not good or normal in any way, shape, or form.
To get woke, go broke, and even the sky is falling. Who's going to tell the gamer chuds how wrong they are now? Ask different.
That was the other side. This is why I'm happy that Kotaku is dying. However, how they're being killed is not a great way either. It's kind of those situations where both things are wrong. A new Extra Life site, basically. Extra Life is a bit different. Extra Life, they do guides, content stuff, but this is done maliciously, as opposed to everything else.
People about this, and you'll get completely different answers, because perspective here seems to be fully dependent on whether or not someone liked the individual politics of the Kotaku writers. There was a singular political slant at that outlet for many years, which is completely indisputable. And that simple litmus test will be...
And that's why all of us hate Kotaku. That is why, like, pretty much every single normal gamer out there fucking hates Kotaku, and we're like, ding dong, the bitch is dead.
Tell you whether or not someone is now celebrating all this or panicking over the decision by GNO Media to change the website's direction. Here's the fun part. It turns out, if you don't believe me, I'm about to show proof of everything I'm saying. It turns out I'm actually uniquely qualified to speak on this topic and also have literal years of data to back up what I'm about to say.
Right.
See, originally, way back when the channel first got started in the early days, all I did was make video game guides.
Yeah.
I started with The Division.
He's been here, he's been making guides, Upper Echelon. I told you he's a real one. He's been making guides for literally, I would say, over 10 years at least. Like, way over 10 years. Like, way before I was on Twitch and everything. Like, dude, way before. I watched a good bit of upper echelon gaming, like, way back, man. Like, I watched a couple of his guides on The Division, way back when I first played The Division. It's crazy. Like, he's a real one, man. He's a real one. He's been there from the beginning.
Killed the channel outright when I tried to expand, but eventually I was producing guides for basically every single popular game release that happened.
Yeah.
Destiny 2, Red Dead Redemption, even Fallout 76. Cyberpunk, Kingdom Come Deliverance, Assassin's Creed, Borderlands.
Oh man. He's so dedicated, he even made content for Fallout 76. What an absolute hero. Oh man. If nothing else convinces you why upper echelon gaming deserves respect, that should tell you how much of a real one he is right here, guys. Dude, yeah, give him again, guys. Give him a like, give him a sub. The man deserves it. He's put the hard hours in.
Borderlands 2, even more recently Elden Ring. I went
There
from
we go.
guides in
There
one
we go.
game to guides in any
I've heard of that game.
and I have the data now because of that to properly evaluate this whole situation. If you listen to a political activism-oriented gaming journalist right now, the sky is actually falling on their head. This decision is the worst thing in the world. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's a completely idiotic thing to do. How could they ever think that an audience would go there for gaming guides to Kotaku? And it's an obvious blunder by GNO Media that can't be allowed to persist unchecked. However, as someone with close to a decade of YouTube experience, tens of
guide, by the way, for anyone who wants to make a YouTube channel, I'm not really a guide guy. However, I do want to make guides because maybe, it'll help the channel a bit, which is good. But even I'm considering this. Guide content is really, really good for games when they're games that people actually play. For like something like Elden Ring, even a year and change after it's come out, Elden Ring videos that are good guides still get views. It'll bring home the bacon. It will absolutely bring home the bacon. There's no doubt in my mind. Let's see upper echelon's content and let's see what his views are like. I can tell you that he's making good money from doing this. But here's an example. This is a 5-year-old video for Red Dead Redemption 2, a guide. So we're talking about guide content and how Kotaku's being pushed into guide content. This isn't like technically a bad thing because like guide content, 300,000 views for a 10-minute video that probably took an hour to make. That's insane. But that means that's because the quality is good, the information is good, it's cogently made, it's extremely simple, and upper echelon gaming has been able to pump out like hundreds of these videos. And so if you estimate like this is like an overperforming one, right? If you say like 100,000 videos for an hour's worth of work, that is mad money. That is so good. So, guide content does really well on YouTube for a very good reason.
Millions of views attracted through the production of gaming guides in particular, and all the data at my disposal at my fingertips to demonstrate this. Let's take a look at the reality of the situation.
Oh, okay. So he's just going to give his own numbers. I jumped the gun. I was giving the numbers of how good guide content is using upper echelon himself as an example. He's doing the exact same thing. My bad.
Not the blind celebration, by the way, because someone thinks the writers they politically disagree with are going to lose their jobs, which they probably are.
Yeah. It's not a blind celebration. However, it is a celebration because, like I said, the vast majority of the writers at Kotaku are complete assholes. There is some good gems out there. So I do feel bad for the good gems out there that are losing their jobs. It does absolutely fucking blow. But in general, Kotaku has been one of those terrible, terrible news sites that all they do is, just rant and rave and tell, normal gamers that they're bad people for playing a certain game or whatever, which is complete, absolute horseshit. And one of the biggest problems with social media today, like this kind of like echo chamber bullshit that we hate seeing on Twitter and everything, this is exactly what happens on Kotaku on the regular. And that is one reason that people have become so polarized. Sites like Kotaku is an exact reason why this has become so much more prevalent, in my opinion. I completely directly blame Kotaku for a lot of this. But yeah,
Brain dead outrage because a company made a calculated fiscal decision to step away from antagonistic, politically motivated content.
yep.
Let's look at what's really happening, okay? Like the actual down to earth reality, not one side or the other
Okay, so I already gave my take earlier. So let's see if Upper Echelon agrees with me.
of an extreme. Here goes. Gaming guides are absolutely a viable genre of content.
Yep.
And here's
I just proved it. But yeah, let's see his numbers. He's probably going to show even more numbers, and I don't know if he's going to go highly into detail of his income, but I can tell you he's probably making way more than a comfortable living, and he deserves it. He's worked hard for all the guide content he's made.
few examples. This is a 5-minute, 50-second video.
Yep, there we go. 200,000 views, and it keeps getting views. This is the thing. It just keeps getting insane amounts of views. The estimated revenue is way, way lower than I expected, though. That's crazy. Holy shit.
I did for Red Dead Redemption 2.
Right.
It is incredibly simple and merely showcases the location of 5 pieces of writing, I think,
Right.
from back then, explaining how if you go to all these spots, you can hunt an NPC that pretends to be a vampire.
Yep.
This took me less than 1 hour to make and has garnered well over 1 million views since.
Like I said, 1 million views and 200,000 in just the past year. In just the past year. Gaming guide content keeps pulling in the views. Ad revenue is not as rich as things like finance. Yeah, exactly. It's because of Zam. I don't know if you know what it is, but it's because of something called dynamic CPMs. Dynamic CPMs means depending on the type of content you make on YouTube, your cost per meal is what CPM stands for. As in the amount of money you'll make per view changes depending on if you're video games or music or entertainment or finance or education. All of these things have different varying CPMs because advertisers pay more or less depending on what kind of, and they select what kind of videos that they want to have their advertising dollars spent on. So, certain ads will only play on educational content. Certain ads will only play on gaming content, and so on and so forth. And gaming content is actually one of the lowest on the entire site, by the way. Now, this also it is a big difference between YouTube and Twitch, Sam. One reason that Twitch ad revenue is so much lower is because, first of all, there generally views are, number-wise, much lower than YouTube. But also, we don't have dynamic CPMs. For my content, discussing business right here, I make the same amount of money CPM wise for ad revenue as someone playing the Suicide Squad game that we just discussed, or someone in a hot tub in a bikini and doing that kind of content. It is all the same advertisers, and a lot of advertisers get better deals from Twitch because they're like, hey, I'm being put on videos that I don't even want to be put on, so I want to pay you guys less. And Twitch has no choice but to say okay, because they need at least some ad revenue to succeed and be viable as a site. And so because Twitch does not have dynamic CPMs is why we're all being paid so much less via ads. By the way, Sam, I don't know if you knew that, but that's a little bit of detail I know. I know the details and intricacies of this system extremely, extremely well. I've worked with ad agencies before in my business job. I've worked with CPM agencies and everything like that, on a much smaller level, obviously, but at least on a level, so I know how it works. But yeah, there's some interesting detail here. But yeah, there we go. Anyways, sorry, continuing.
Originally published. In the past 365 days,
right,
so 1 year, it's gotten 200,000 views.
It keeps going. The views keep going for guide content.
6 years ago.
However, this is very much game locked. So if you are playing a game that no one cares about, even if you make a good guide, even if it's cogent, even if there's no one else making this guide, no one will care. Just to let you know.
Still producing reliable viewership, subscribers, and revenue today.
Right.
It's
right.
basically the holy grail of content creation. It's called evergreen. And it holds true regardless of medium.
This is the true evergreen
articles
content.
With written content can do precisely the same thing, sometimes even better. Well, some of you might be thinking, but Red Dead Redemption 2 is a crazy high profile release that doesn't.
In fact, many times even better, because there's many times where I'm looking for a detailed guide and the video will not give enough detail. And also will have, like, you know, other stuff that I don't want in the video, like people, you know, trying to shill a random product that I'm not interested in, and YouTube ads just going crazy, and all that BS that happens on YouTube often. And sometimes it's clickbait and you don't even find the exact information. So for, you know, a detailed question. And for those, I much prefer reading an actual article. So having a proper article is much, much even better, for sure.
Happen every day, so it's not a repeatable thing. And you'd be right, except for the part where you're completely wrong. See, that pattern is actually easy to replicate if you are able to quickly target new games and produce at least passably helpful content.
Exactly.
There's a tips video for a video game called Frostpunk. Incredible game. It's about to get a sequel, actually.
I need to play this game, man. I love city builders. I love post-apocalyptic. I've never played Frostpunk. Holy smokes. I need to do that.
Exciting. But it's nowhere near as popular as Red Dead Redemption 2. Still, a simple 5 tips and tricks video I produced, also about 6 years ago, has continued to garner viewership this entire time, collectively reaching over 250,000 people.
That's really good.
Evergreen content with drip-fed income and subscriber growth.
To be fair, looking at this number, guys, this number looks a lot better when he talks about how it only took him an hour to make this video. So an hour's worth of work for $617. And that doesn't include the fact that someone who subs to the channel will watch your other videos, and, you know, kind of like a rising tide raises all ships. It's one of those things. That's like not bad at all.
This pattern is actually the norm.
Yeah,
I did very few guides for Monster Hunter World when it initially came out, but when I did, things like this happened. How to get Zora Magdaros gems and armor. And this content is extremely simplistic, mind you.
Yeah, dude, I just reading this, like hearing this, how to get the Zora Magdaros gems and everything, it's like the simplest thing. It's like borderline, like, I didn't even think to make a guide about it because I never thought anyone needed a guide for something so simple. But I guess I'm just wrong. People need extremely, extremely simple guides for simple shit in games. Oh my god. I might need to make some of these guys.
Merely explaining how to get one resource with one method in a popular video game, right? It's really simple.
It's the simplest thing.
Hundreds of thousands of views, hundreds of dollars, consistent subscriber growth.
This is crazy.
Let me just rapid fire these. Again, I have a lot of examples to draw from.
Dude, Upper Echelon is being a real one, man. He's giving us, like, so much detail of his, like, exact revenue and everything, man. Like, dude, YouTube content creators never give this detail. This is crazy.
Cyberpunk,
this is really nice.
Views, evergreen. Tips for Borderlands, evergreen, less than 400,000 views, made me $2,000 over 4 years. Tips.
Oh yeah, I mean it's not to yeah, exactly. It's not to make like one video to make money off of. The thing is like if you make so here let me give an example of how Upper Echelon has used this to propel his content forward. This is so there's types of content that is your bread and butter, Sam. The bring home the bacon. There was a large YouTube content creator, Twitch content creator partner that I got into a bit of an online spat with on Twitter, of course, because he acted like a bonehead, and I called it out. I was respectful, but I did call it out, and we had a little bit of back and forth. And he actually came over to the stream. He was one of the few real ones that realized he was being a bit of a stubborn bonehead. And he actually came to the stream to apologize. He was like, hey, I was heated. I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. And I just wanted to say, you know, I didn't realize your perspective from it. And you were being respectful. And, you know, my bad, essentially. Real nice guy, actually. And I've followed him since that day. Because it takes a lot of balls and a lot of self-awareness to, be a large partner streamer and still admit you're wrong. And B, publicly, you know, discuss it in an open forum, as in coming to my Twitch stream, where it is kind of like my turf and not his. And just being a decent guy about it. So I give that guy a lot of respect. Anyways, we started talking about his Twitch stream and everything like that. I shouted him out, you know, all that good stuff. And asked about his content. And he said it in a very interesting phrase. He said, Minecraft brings home the bacon, and I play that just for the money. But then he told me about the other games he likes. And so this is the exact similar type of feel here, Sam. So Upper Echelon Gaming these little small guide videos, making enough of them brings home the bacon for him. But if you go to his channel and you look at all of his videos, look at his most recent videos. And the vast majority of his most recent videos are not guide videos. They're opinion-based videos where he discusses, Dragon's Dogma being a mixed bag. He gives reviews. He does this. He talks about, some more, let's just say, intense situations like SweetBabyInc and so on and so forth. Games being a scam. Basically, like a lot of my content, straight up, right? And but he gives a lot of his own takes and details, and he is a trusted source. And so a lot of people like him for it. So he has now been able to propel all of the growth from these guide videos into making the content that he actually really wants to make for fun. Or not for fun, but like the fulfilling content for him. So that's kind of what it is, Sam. It's kind of like what you do with Twitch streams. There are certain games where a lot of people main a certain game, and that is what they can rely on to be the game that they play either when they're, not feeling like completely up to giving like an overabundance of effort. Because, like, for example, just chatting streams for me take a lot of effort to write and script and write down points of and, prepare all the information for, because I like to give you guys huge and real and cogent information. Whereas, League of Legends, I can just play with my fucking eyes closed, and like I can still, produce good content for you guys, and at least it's entertaining and brings smiles to your faces. But yeah, so like it's kind of like that situation. And I can do all of the above. And really mixing the content is how you make sure you don't get content locked, which is what he was talking about. He was saying that he started off by making guides for nothing but the Division, and then he started to move into other things, and he nearly nuked his channel. The reason is because he got game locked. Basically, the only people subbing to him were only people that, played or watched or anything the Division, and nothing else. There you go. That is what you want to avoid. You don't want to get game locked, or subject locked, I guess, in this situation. But play better with League with your eyes closed. Exactly, Aku. I mean, to be fair, if I played Udyr in the meta way, I would also be able to do that better. I completely agreed. Hey man, you can't roast me if I agree with you. I'm kidding. Yeah, anyways.
Red Dead 2 still going. Fishing guide for Red Dead 2 still going.
Yep.
Tips for Bannerlord still going strong, evergreen. Tips for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which isn't even the most recent game in the
Shit, man. I might have to do some of these just to hit monetization, guys.
Series anymore as well. Consistent viewership, thousands of dollars over the span of years. Even a game like Kingdom Come Deliverance, Best Gear, an Alchemy Guide, and a money...
Damn. I really want to play Kingdom Come Deliverance. By the way, I played 3 hours of it way back when I first started streaming. I played Kingdom Come Deliverance. If you want to play one of the most intricately detailed first-person open world RPGs ever, which is way underrated. Like, the game is really good. Kingdom Come Deliverance, man. It's so freaking good. It's an odd game. Yeah. It's like really, really hard to stream, which is why I didn't continue playing it. There's like I said, certain games I can stream and certain games I really can't. Kingdom Come Deliverance is one of those like basically nigh unstreamable games. It's extremely complicated. It's a little slow. It's ultra realistic, which is cool, but not exactly good for this. It's a very unique kind of content, right? But like it's actually ironically one of those things that's much better for YouTube. There's certain games like that, Chimp. This is definitely one of those. But yeah, as a game itself, Kingdom Come Deliverance is so good. If you're looking for a really good in-depth single player RPG that's like really, really good, open world, you can do like anything you want, and it's like way too much detail put into like the smallest thing. It's really, really, really good. Oh my god.
Video among others,
I got you, buddy. No worries.
Continuing to gain viewership even now consistently as they grow the channel and earn me money well after the fact.
Yeah.
The list goes on. This is really just a snapshot. I have a ton more data at my disposal to prove this, but I'm just trying to condense it as much as I can. But the point is to demonstrate here that guide content is a consistent and reliable method of attracting viewership, even more than half a decade after whatever game it is initially came out. While the channel has completely changed direction since then.
This game looks so fun.
See, I've done the grind where you produce guides, and I've also done the more journalistic thing, I guess, where I publish my opinions about games or topics instead of giving information on them.
And most of his stuff now is not guides, it's the opinion-based stuff, because I think he likes doing that better, which is totally fair.
Even though that still does often contain a lot of information, but still. I can tell you with no shadow of a doubt here, possessing all the data necessary to prove my point, the video game guide content is much more consistently profitable than op-eds or think pieces or whatever the fuck Kotaku writers have been doing for them.
The reason is, by the way, he's right here. Because think pieces only last as long as people are interested in that subject. I can show you some of my content. And, you know, I'm a very new YouTuber. We just crossed 500 subs, which is really cool. But you know, I'm a little inspired since he's showing off his analytics. I'll show a little bit of mine. Here, let's put a video that actually overperformed for my channel. The Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League video where I talk about how it doesn't look very good, right? So you see how this became flat? So basically, all of the views for this video came in the first first 3 days, actually, not even the first week. First 3 days of this video being produced. And then after that, it produced like maybe an extra like 20. And that's it. That is it. Now, I don't mind that because I love creating this video and I love discussing these things. So this is kind of like a big direction I want to take the video, the channel into. And that's why I'm doing it. I know that this video will stop performing after 3 days. However, that is the reality. These opinion pieces, even when they're really well made, they have cogent information and everything like that, and they're about a very timely subject, as soon as that subject falls out of favor, or even just falls out of the lexicon because the news cycle moves fast, especially in gaming, but all over for any kind of news, the views drop off a cliff. And that is the hard truth.
Past few years. To be clear, the more highbrow journalistic stuff certainly can be a hit.
Right.
Sometimes, periodically. I have videos that do exceptionally well that discuss things like TikTok and social media, AI, general technology, and more. But video game guide.
I should make a TikTok video. I've made one ranting about social media. I've never made one about ranting about TikTok. And I've ranted about TikTok on stream so many times.
And I say this as an indisputable.
Never made a video about it though.
Are an extremely reliable source of viewership if you can produce them quickly and if you can properly fill them with information.
Right.
This decision by G&O Media is not some misguided blunder, regardless of what these writers are screaming about on Twitter. This is not some horribly ill-informed mistake. This is a viable business decision that can absolutely result in high-paying, consistent traffic with low effort and a lot of frequency.
Also, the other thing to remember is one reason that this entire change has happened with Kotaku is because Kotaku was making like dog shit money because they were getting dog shit views. I don't know if he's going to go into this, but Kotaku revenue by quarter. I don't know if this will be information that we can find. There we go. Let's see if this has information. This is employee valuation, revenue evaluation. Is it by quarter? Nope. It's kind of hard to find information about these companies sometimes. Data API. This is like information about the competitors. I was trying to look for it for by year. But sometimes your information is as good as your data, which is the problem. Market share might be a decent way to look at it. We'll see if we can see the market share. Ho! Here we go. Here we go. This has been the trend for years, so you can imagine that this is by year, by the way, guys. But Just in 2 months, the views dropped from 13 million all the way back in December to 11 million. That is like a straight up 20% drop. That is insane for 2 months. That is really, really, really bad. I don't know if we can extend this out and see longer detail of it. But yeah, considering that they keep producing more and more of that content, the fact that they were getting 20% less views is really like just a death knell. And that has been happening to Kotaku for years. It's really, 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 really bad. And that is exactly why this has happened to Kotaku, by the way. It wasn't because of their views directly. It was because people stopped going to the site. Voting with your wallet is always the best way to vote, by the way, guys. If you don't like certain things that happen in games, microtransaction stuff, don't buy them. And tell other people to not buy them. The more that people don't do it, for example, in that case, the less these game companies will do it. If everyone tells you that correctly, and not making it up, that a Suicide Squad is a dog shit game, and as a result, they spent $50 million trying to make the game, and they only sold $2.5 million of gross revenue, that's a giant failure for Warner Brothers, and they're not going to make another Suicide Squad.
Extremely reliable profits, really, for Kotaku, if it's executed properly.
Right.
I don't know if it will be executed properly.
I can tell you, Upper Echelon Gaming, it will not be executed properly. There's no way in hell a person can make 50 good guides that are your quality, as in Upper Echelon's good quality of guides, and with cogent, non-stolen ideas and so on and so forth, like not made with fucking AI or anything like that, and make 50 of them in a week. There's no way. This is literally impossible and only done to try to make people leave the company so they don't have to pay severance. That is why.
But as a basic foundation, it's a viable strategy.
Yeah, basic foundation, cool.
And this is a big...
Okay, he's going to talk about it, okay.
That doesn't mean that the whole situation is good, and it doesn't mean I'm sitting here happy. See, part of the shift is requiring 50 guides per week from each of their staff writers.
See, this is why I like Upper Echelon, guys. He's so smart. He's agreeing with me. Look how smart he is. Look how smart Upper Echelon is. Good for him.
And yes, I know my audience dislikes Kotaku and their writers significantly, but let's keep our feet firmly on the ground here and not lose track of reality simply because we disagree with them.
Exactly.
50 guides per week?
Very important.
That's just untenable. That's completely impossible to do and effectively forces them to plagiarize.
Yes.
See, guide content success is directly proportional to its...
And this happens a lot. You will often see people make the same content with their own, on YouTube, this happens a lot with React content and everything like that. People will give like the same reaction with very little addition from, with any real input whatsoever. This is another similar type of vein of almost plagiarizing in all but name. It's not enough to, get prosecuted or anything like that, but it's kind of scummy. Right? This kind of thing happens, and this kind of thing will happen and has happened with gaming guides as well. And expecting 50 articles per week will only make sure that happens. And let me tell you, if one of those Kotaku writers gets caught for plagiarizing a game's guide content, he will be fired and without severance. This is a way to get them caught. And it's kind of like a bad situation. No one likes entrapment. Even for bad people, I don't like entrapment.
Speed and its relative information. You have to be quick, and you have to put things in that players genuinely want to know but don't already know. Do that, and you're golden, but you cannot possibly do that yourself, at least not properly, 50 times per week.
It's impossible.
Because there's a lot more that goes into it, right? You actually have to spend the time to find the information to put in there, or you have to plagiarize it. So, they're basically being forced to plagiarize with that criteria.
Yeah.
It basically means that writers will be forced to take information that exists already from other outlets.
If you look at Upper Echelon's YouTube channel, he's made a guide a week or so. Like one guide a week, one guide maybe once every 2 weeks sometimes. So that's an example of, because he said that it only takes him an hour to make the video. It only takes him an hour to film the video. It doesn't take an hour to do the scripting. It takes way more, sorry, than an hour to do the scripting. It takes way more to do the SEO. It takes one more to plan out, figure out what's important, so on and so forth. All that planning for every single YouTube video and every single guide, that's where a lot of the time is taken. And the thumbnail. The thumbnail takes a lot of time on YouTube as well. And the editing and stuff as well. All of these extra steps takes way more than the hour. And I know this now because I've started to do my own editing
already, like the aggregation side of things. They would regurgitate things that exist elsewhere,
right,
which depletes the value of that article and the article it's based on already, or stretch out what they find into multiple articles instead of one highly packed, information-dense write-up,
exactly,
which more than likely destroys the potential for this shift to actually help Kotaku from a business perspective and makes this whole thing a lot more likely to fail. See, my guess, and it's a fairly accurate guess here based on context,
sure,
in my opinion, this is an excuse to fire everyone. The fundamental business...
There it is, guys. Pack it in. I told you. I've seen this so many times in the business world, in the acquisition business world. This has happened so many times, and we've had to avoid that pitfall of, someone trying to do this shit to us, giving us an untenable situation with a contract, for example, and things like that. This happens a lot with contract work. This happens an absolute boatload with consulting. This is exactly the same thing that happens in my world. That's how I knew exactly what was going on as soon as I saw 50 guides a week. I was like, there's no way. There's no way this is not one of those situations.
This decision to shift over and focus on guides
is
valid, and do not let a single journalist tell you it's not. They
Correct.
Simply don't know what they're talking about here. Or their critical thinking is obviously clouded by anger right now. However,
I would say it's not really anger, it's ego. Dude, so many games journalists have ego. And that's the reason why. Like, Kotaku didn't always produce shit. They only produced shit over the past couple of years. Before the past couple of years, they were producing some, good articles. Sometimes even now, sometimes there's some good articles where they talk about, like, some major issues happening with gaming. The layoffs, for example, the Blizzard stuff, all those were covered by Kotaku. Other people as well, but definitely by Kotaku as well. And it was an important voice in those singular, very few situations, Broken clock is correct twice a day. However, way back, it was far more common. And it's because the writers decided that their voice was stronger than what the market demanded. They knew better than what their readers thought, is what they were thinking. That is when ego enters into it. You see this a lot with movies nowadays, movies and TV shows. Why are so many movies, TV shows, and games written like shit? Because they're putting in, like, their own thoughts as opposed to what is good for the actual story. It's because they have ego. Why is The Witcher failing? Why did Henry Cavill leave The Witcher? Because the writers thought they knew better than the actual source material of the games and the books. It's because they had ego. And that is why Henry Cavill left. He's like, this is bullshit. I'm gone. This is exactly why anything that happens where the writer has way too much ego and they think they know better, they're going to spoon feed you their bitter medicine or whatever, and it's going to be just for your own good or whatever. This is why that shit always fails, and it always should. Fuck them for doing that.
Acquiring 50 guides per week is not valid.
Correct.
And the only actual purpose of that would be to overwhelm the writers to a point where they can't keep up and
Correct.
then, I guess, fire them. That,
exactly.
in my view, is extremely stupid. I know
it's not only stupid, it's toxic. And it, like, this kind of thing, and if an acquisition company is known for doing this on the regular, they get audited. And they get audited by the Department of Labor. And the Department of Labor will be like, you're doing this on purpose. You owe this much in fines, and we might just shut you the fuck down. However, the threshold for that, by the way, guys, I'm not saying this as like a giant win for the Department of Labor. Their threshold for this is like very, very, very much in the company's side. So companies are able to get away with this extremely, extremely often. And only sometimes do they get caught out and they have to, actually take a hit. And even then, the hit that they take is far more worth than the money they saved by making people leave without severance. Essentially, it's really fucked up. And this thing happens with lack of regulation. If the regulations for the Department of Labor were a bit stronger, it'd be better for consumers. It'd be better for employees, and then by extension for consumers. That is exactly a huge issue right now. And so yeah, I don't think it's just stupid. I think it's legitimately toxic. And I'm curious if the Department of Labor will look into this situation. I am genuinely curious. I will actually keep my eye out for this and make another video if that happens, because I would love to tell you if this was a situation where this was proven right, and if the asshole that set this into motion actually got dinged for it. I genuinely hope, if that is the situation here, like I'm assuming Upper Echelon is correct in all of his statements, I've no reason to trust him because he's given always good information. I haven't looked at his sources yet. If he's right, this would be a situation they would want to link into, because this is egregious. Like, this is like very much directly trying to get people illegally fired.
Some people will celebrate this and say they're getting what they deserve, and I understand that.
They kind of are. Like, I mean, I'll just straight up say it. They kind of are. But it is a canary in a coal mine situation. You don't want to see this happen for other companies as well. If this happens successfully for Kotaku, and the asshole who's setting this into motion, who, by the way, is no peach himself, the guy who's doing this is an acquisition asshole. He's a multi-millionaire who does this kind of shit on the regular. He's not doing this out of like, hey, I'm hitting the man with it, man. I'm just a little guy hitting the man. You know, we're just hitting these bad authors because they're assholes. No, he's doing this because of money, guys. He's doing this because of money. And it's important to realize the context of the situation.
But guys, jacking up the requirements of a job to be impossible just so you have an
excuse, it's never a good situation.
Employment is like super fucked up.
Yeah,
we can disagree with someone politically and still acknowledge when they get completely shafted by a greedy company. So I hope that everyone watching is able to make that.
And the other thing that he's not realized is that if this happens successfully for Kotaku, it could happen successfully for other games journalisms. It could happen to IGN. It could happen to all of them. And the thing is, if all game journalism companies die out in the very, very, short period of time, it will hurt gaming as a whole, because then companies can get away with whatever shit that they want to, with only us random YouTubers there to be like, hey, this is kind of an issue, and we'll have far fewer sources to actually discuss real cogent points with. This is the situation. And the relationship between gaming content creators that talk about these types of things like me and these large sites, which have usually, not always, but usually, and we have to check, source material, it's a symbiotic relationship. If one dies out, it's bad for all of us, guys. Like, just straight up. It is not a good situation. If no gaming journalism company had released information about the massive issues going off at Blizzard, we never would have known. I mean, someone had to whistleblow, some media outlet had to catch it, and then it spread around like wildfire. If all of them die out, if all of them are affected by this type of situation, we will lose out on real important information. And that is not a good thing. That is not a good thing at all in any way, shape, or form. So while we are like, yeah, fuck Kotaku, also be wary about why this is happening. Be wary about who this is happening to, who is doing this, and how this could affect everything else. Because those are very important things to remember as well. Context is always important, guys.
It is completely valid to shift Kotaku in the direction of gaming guides. These whining, screeching journalists don't have a leg to stand on disputing the validity of that decision. But requiring them to basically plagiarize or produce horrible content just to keep up with that quota, that is idiotic. It really is. And either means that the company...
There's a reason entrapment is illegal, guys. Entrapment is literally illegal in a court of law. You can do certain things to try to set a situation where a guy will commit a crime, But straight up entrapment is not one of them. That is a line you cannot cross in law.
Screwing them over on purpose or making a serious blunder when it comes to content pacing.
And this I find akin to entrapment.
They're creating a reason to fire people as they execute this shift, but with two sides hell-bent on proving the other side wrong,
right.
I felt like a good idea to look at the situation and calmly explain that both sides are in fact wrong. The journalists are completely full of shit in their complaints about the basic decision-making.
Yeah.
This is a valid and potentially highly profitable shift to make.
Exactly.
But the weekly requirements really are a complete disaster in their current form.
Wait, does he just have a bear head? Oh my god, that's hilarious.
It should not be defended as a great
I did
move
play
to
this game,
salvage
man.
the sinking ship. Kotaku just died, not as a general publication necessarily, but as an avatar of let me push my ideologically driven opinions on you ignorant viewers, which was the consistent atmosphere it managed to cultivate for years.
On purpose. And it died due to money. A lot of people don't know why this company's died. It's died due to money. If that kind of journalism produced views, Kotaku would be just fine. But it doesn't.
That's what Kotaku was.
And frankly, thank God for
that.
that.
All the gamers suck, and our audience are losers and idiots, and look how wrong they are, and this is what you should think, and this is what I think. So, like, it was so, I don't know, it was so politically driven, and it came through in every aspect of their writing.
Yeah,
that seems to be legitimately dead, as their parent company shifts in a new but completely understandable direction. Even if the requirements they've implemented...
Dude, that's a smooth-looking top hat.
...implemented while doing so are
great details, really awesome. I have to keep that in mind.
If left in place, make the whole thing fail. That's it. If you want to support the channel, check out the links down below. We have a channel merchandise line that's open till April 10th. After that, the spring collection will be gone, so get that while it's still there. Locals and Patreon, monthly subscriptions, a VPN deal, etc., etc. But I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching.
Great video. Absolute W video by Upper Echelon. I hope I was able to give you guys some good detail, especially in my world of business and everything like that, because I think it was it's very interesting. And I think there's a lot of context that even Upper Echelon was not able to cover. So I hope I was able to give you guys some extra good detail. W Upper Echelon, W Corey, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. There we go.